great to be here again. I'm very excited. As Steph said, Carlina Williamson is my name. I'm a Northcote local, and I'm very passionate about empowering independent and small businesses to win online. My professional background is I've owned businesses. I've been exactly where you guys are, where you're trying to juggle a million balls and work out how you can stretch the budget even further. And for me, that's one of the golden things about organic traffic is once you've done the work, it actually just keeps paying dividends on and on and on without any further investment. My background most recently is I've been consulting to businesses and helping them put in place digital strategies, but I've also run an online marketplace that at its core was about connecting consumers with local businesses. So I'm passionate, I understand the space, and I really hope that tonight we can give you guys some really good tips, tricks, and ideas for how you can work SEO into the whole of your marketing plan and apply it to your business so that it's meaningful and gets results for you. So let's go. I did mention before, I'm just going to try, I've just got a funny little thing here that I'm trying to move. There we go. So what are we covering tonight? Well, tonight is an overall view. I'm trying to balance that thing between some of you know a little bit, some people know nothing, and some people will have a really good basis. And so just trying to make sure that there's something in this for everyone. So we're going to start right at the beginning. What is SEO? We're going to talk about what's in it for your business. We're going to talk about how you build relevance using content, and content really is going to be a key concept for tonight. And that's why we're going to spend time on how to create a content plan for your business, and also some tips for making sure that your content is found. And then finally, we're going to wrap up with some tips or a discussion around how you become trustworthy online, and the question of, do you need an agency, or is this something you can do yourself? So let's get stuck into it. And yeah, I think it's going to be a good session. Thanks everyone for coming along. So what is SEO? So SEO stands for Search Engine Optimization. At its heart, it is about showing Google that you are the best answer to a question. So you type something into your search bar, the results that come up, Google has determined, no, I'm not talking about the ones that say ad next to them, I'm talking about the ones underneath that. Google has determined that they are the most relevant results and the most trustworthy results that answer the question that you've typed in. So thinking about those two concepts, relevance and trust, how you build relevance is through content. That is the single biggest factor. Have you got the right content on your site to answer questions that people are asking? When it comes to trust, the biggest factor is off-site links. Do other people think that the information that you have put on your website is trustworthy? So two really key concepts: relevance, which is what you write. It's literally the words on your website. And trust. Have you got endorsement from others to say that what you've written is of value? So really, really important concepts there. You'll notice that not once did I mention backlinking, link farms, black magic, black hat, keyword stuffing. All that stuff is old SEO, and it's gone, gone, gone. SEO now is very much about just writing or creating great content that people enjoy to read, that answers people's questions, that Google can index and others endorse. That's what it is at its heart. So very different from what SEO was. Now, I'd like to suggest to all of you that if you are using a fairly standard platform product for your website, whether it be a Shopify, a Neto, a BigCommerce, a WordPress, WooCommerce plugin, whatever, that for most of you, you can get 80% of the benefits of a great SEO strategy just by doing the work internally and setting up some really good processes. The really technical side of SEO, the 20%, unless you've got an issue with site load time or something's happened in your code base, most of the time you don't need that technical stuff. So if you're starting from a fairly clean base, I think by the end of tonight, I'm hoping that you'll feel empowered to put in place what is a very, very robust SEO strategy for your business. So let's get into it. So this is my key thing for everyone. When you are thinking about SEO and you are thinking about your site, take your marketing hat off. Take your world's best in class, ISO 9000, take all those marketing words away and just think about your customer. Think about why your customer comes looking for your business, why your customer interacts with your business. And if you start with that customer-centric view and you weave these SEO principles through everything that you do on your site, you are absolutely going to see huge benefits from implementing a really good SEO strategy. But the key thing here is you've got to know your customer and you've got to think like your customer, okay? So have I mentioned it's a bit of work? Because it will be work, it's proper work, but there's benefits to it. It's worth doing the work. It's good work and it's worthwhile doing. So what is in it for your business? Well, if you can get your SEO strategy right and you can get your implementation right, effectively you can win free traffic to your site. And before tonight, we put out a little survey, and of the surveys that came back, the majority of people, 80%, are not paying for traffic to their website. So if you're not paying for traffic for your website, then you need to be investing in other ways that you can get traffic to your site. And SEO or organic traffic is definitely one of those key areas. Organic traffic, just to put it into context, represents about 23% of all traffic online. So that's 1 in 4 clicks to websites originates from an organic search. The other ways that people are getting to sites, just for completeness, paid traffic, so that's Google AdWords and Google Shopping. The email traffic, so when you send out emails with links in it that redirect to your site. From social, if you post something on Facebook that links back to your blog or in your Insta profile. And referral traffic, when other sites send traffic to you. So those 4 represent 75% of the traffic online, and organic represents a quarter. So absolutely worthwhile investing. What's really interesting though is that organic search results and the traffic that originates from those, the trust factor is much higher. And subconsciously, I think all of us go, oh, well, if Google thinks it's good, it must be good. And part of why Google has rewarded those sites with the higher rankings is because often they represent a great user experience. They do answer the question. They do make it easy for people. And so as a result, what you're finding is that your conversions of organic traffic are big. Okay, so let's just do some numbers here. we've got a quarter of all traffic is organic. When you get to the page, you've got your top 10 results on page 1. The top 3 clicks get 75% of the traffic. The rest of that page takes the remaining 24%. Anyone who is on page 2 and beyond, we've got work to do, because page 2 all the way to whatever result is there, they're only getting 1% of total clicks. So you can see how much value is in that investment to get to the top of the rankings, or at least onto page 1. And the value isn't just in being on page 1. The value really comes from the fact that clicks to your site will convert at 5 times higher, than paid traffic. So about a 16% conversion. So for every 16 people that go to your site from organic traffic, you should get some, whatever the desired outcome was. So whether that's a sale, but it might be an email subscription, it could be a contact us form, it could be book an appointment, lots of different conversions, but 16% is the rate there for organic traffic, and over here for paid traffic, less than 3. So big difference. So that's what's in it for your business. Invest in setting up a good strategy, set up that organic traffic flow to your business, and essentially becomes free, high value, high trust, high converting traffic. So really, there's not much not to like. Okay. Now, I'm hoping the fact that all of you being here means that you're not going to be asking this question, why bother with SEO? But it's an interesting concept, because the second line, everyone knows my business, is one I still hear. And that really applies to a lot of local businesses. Oh, everyone knows my business. I've been on the high street for lots of years. I've been in the plaza for a long time, whatever it is. But there's 2 concepts that I think are really important that we all need to accept, and they are digital forgetfulness and digital creep. So digital forgetfulness is really interesting. There's a woman named Betsy Sparrow, and she's at Columbia University in New York, and she did this piece of research around how digital devices are changing our memories. And what she found was that the change wasn't so much that we were forgetful, but rather we remembered how to access the information as opposed to the information that we needed. So, and it's fascinating. I pick up my phone and I can no longer remember phone numbers. I used to know everyone's phone numbers. No way, not anymore. What I know is how they're filed and what name I have to type in to find their phone number. It's interesting, isn't it? Your shift is it's not that I couldn't remember phone numbers. I used to be able to, but now I remember how to recall the phone number. And it is exactly the same with our brains and local businesses and services. We know that if I look at Google, I'll find it. That's how we've now been trained to access information and find things out. We no longer need to remember them because we have to remember the access point. And what's really interesting is the rate at which Google searches are going up. And they're saying, oh, most people do 3+ a day. And I'm like, oh my God, I reckon that it would actually be higher than that. So going back to our original point, why bother with SEO? The point here is you can't rely on people's memory anymore because they've kind of outsourced it to Google. And that's why even local businesses need to have some level of online presence and SEO, effective SEO presence, so that they are tapping into what is this change in behaviour. So I hope you're all convinced. But for those who might need an easy first win, local SEO, it's very easy. Google My Business, claim it, for goodness sakes. That's all I'm going to say. Because why? Because where to buy and near me searches have gone up over 200% in the last year. It is just that the mobile phone is all about digital creep. Things that we would have remembered, kept a business card for, whatever, we don't anymore. We just go straight to the phone. And when people are out and about in local areas, that's how they're finding things. What's near me? Where can I buy? Where to buy? So please, if you take nothing else from tonight, take this and go and claim your Google My Business listing. Keep it updated, keep it relevant. Make sure, particularly at the moment, you know, say what's happening. Are you available for pickups, click and collects, call, you know, whatever it is, make it relevant, make it updated. So there you go. The other tip I'd have for you is to add and update yourself on relevant directories. So being local is not enough anymore to make sure that you retain your local customers. You also have to supplement that with a online presence. And what you'll find is that the two will work hand in hand. Okay. So let's come back to that original quote that we had. The most relevant and the most trustworthy answer to a question. And KS, I'm not sure who KS is, has just popped something in the chat that said, so true, remembering where to find things. So thanks for that. So the most relevant and the most trustworthy answer to a question, that's what Google is looking for. So how do we actually win that competition? Because it is a competition. Well, let's talk about content, right? Because that is your absolute, that is your foundation, that is your frame, that is everything for winning at SEO. Is that a thing on Google? Yes. Google My Business listings exist on Google, and when your business, if you Google your business, it will come up there and it says own this business, claim this listing. You'll need an email account with Google, but you should then be able to do it from there. If you have problems, you can come back to me via Steph. So let's talk about content, and I want everyone to think really broadly about what constitutes content, okay? I don't want everyone just thinking about blog posts and articles, because while they're important, they're not the only place that you can win at SEO. So you should be thinking about your homepage. Your About Us page is a huge opportunity. Google My Business can we hold the Google My Business questions until the end? You can have a Google My Business for online shop, no problems at all, but we'll get there. Homepage, About Us page. Now, online shop, let's say, I'm going to use you as an example. If you stock brands that people look for, then creating brand pages and optimizing them for SEO can be a very powerful thing, because people are out there asking questions and looking for them. Your product pages, really important that they are absolutely fine-tuned for SEO, because once you get down to the pointy end of the funnel where people are ready to buy, they are looking at SKU number level, they are looking at exact product name or ID level. So having those things on your product page can really help win SEO. And the other one is category pages, actually having really strong category pages around, let's think of one, well, topical at the moment. I don't know about everyone else, but I have been wearing very comfortable clothes. So having women's loungewear or women's comfort clothing, or whatever you want to, whatever is the relevant terms, and having those as a category page with an SEO on it will then help people to find you. Plus, then there is a place also for blogs, and there is a place for articles, and there are a place for well-written, frequently asked questions. Okay, so all of those places are places that you can put content. Okay, we haven't got to what content yet and what you need to do on those pages, but I do want you to think about the whole of your website, not just your blog pages. So, how do you create an SEO plan? Well, the first thing you've got to work out is what's your goal. Because already we've heard that there are lots of different businesses out there. Learning businesses in that corporate space might be looking for someone to fill out a contact us form or an inquiry form. The Bushkinder, Nature Play may be looking for someone to complete a online enrolment. People are looking to convert in terms of product purchases online, or some people may actually just want to get people to call them so that they can have a conversation. But understanding what your goal is a really important part of the process, because next step down, collecting information. When you know what your goal is, then you can put your customer hat on and start thinking about what are the customer's questions at that point in the journey. So after we've done a bit of that information about that customer-centric phase, we're going to talk about keywords and phrases that you're currently winning traffic for. Then we're going to talk about how you actually broaden that out and get some additional keywords. Then sticking that all into a content plan, and then creating the content, amplifying it, and finally tracking and monitoring it. So they're your 7 steps for your SEO plan. Let's work through them one by one. You can think of it, if you like, as a little bit of a fitness program, okay? Because this is only going to happen for you if you treat it like a gym membership and you actually get stuck into it. But at least you're going to have all the tools, and then it's over to you. So let's go back to what is your goal. And you need to be quite clear. You might want it to be business visibility, okay? You might want to explain your offer. And what I mean by that is you may be known as plumbers, but in addition, you also have, you actually do a whole lot of environmental stuff around water tanks and filtration and other things. So you need to expand out and explain that broader offer that you have. You want to drive an inquiry. Now, the first one, the business visibility, is about much broader content, okay? Explaining your offer is about quite a specific thing, and it's about maybe going deep on that. Driving inquiries is actually thinking about where is someone in this process? What are they going to be asking for? We've got an environmental plumber. Wow. They're ready to install. Are they ready to install water tanks? That's going to be the inquiry that's on their mind. Similar with booking an appointment and placing an order. If that's what you want to achieve, then you really need to think about what are the questions that they're going to be typing into Google at that point. Okay. And some people actually want to re-engage at the end of the process, which is about reviews, testimonials, and imagery. And the reason why is because other people look for that back at the top at business visibility, and then they refill their funnel. So if we look at this pictorially, you've got your awareness over on the left, findability, reputation, purchase, and then your advocacy feeds back to your awareness for the next one. So it's really thinking about where you want to fit in that funnel and which bit you want to tackle. I recommend doing this because it's hard to do everything. The feedback I got from the survey that we ran before tonight was the majority of you are doing SEO on your own and you're doing all of your own site maintenance. It's too hard to be everything to everyone. So actually narrow in on a goal that you want to achieve and then really do the work around that and win at that, a meaningful goal for your business, and then you can go on to the next thing. But Don't try and tackle everything at once. It's actually, I think it's too much. So let's talk about, you've locked down your goal, whatever that is in your mind. You need to now start asking questions and collecting information, okay? List out all your key products and all your key services. Think about the brands that you stock, the categories that you cover, the occasions, the reasons that people come to you, okay? Think about geographically, where do your customers come from, but also how are they currently getting to you? Is it, why are they coming to you? What is it that makes you stand out? Think about, this is actually a really good one. What are the questions that your customers ask when they're on the phone? What is either the bit that they want reassurance that you do, or why they tell you that they've called you because you're known as the only one who does XYZ. Those two things are giving you really good inklings into where you can either create content because no one else has it, or where you need to bulk up your own content. So then those kind of reasons and drivers that customers reach out, is it that they're at emergency? Is it where are they at in that needs basis? And why do your customers choose your business? Really start mapping those out. It's like a mind map. That's a great way to do it, because what you're trying to do is begin to see where there are opportunities. All right, so let's go on to the next step. So you've done this mind mapping of all of the things that could bring people to your business, right? The previous slide was all about all of the terms, all of the questions, all of the phrases, all of the topics that could bring people to your business. Now what you need to do is understand actually what you are currently getting traffic to your site for, okay? So possibility first. So where we're up to is we're talking about understanding your current traffic. And what I'm hoping is that all of you have your Google Analytics access set up. So when we get the slides, I've actually done a little flow map for you, but basically make analytics your friend. It is a little bit confusing, but it is worthwhile putting some time into. Just even if you get to know a couple of key slices of data about your site. In particular, I would suggest under the main menu, looking at acquisition. That's a really important one. And under there, you're looking at source and medium. And then when you look at source and medium, you're going to find there that you'll see your traffic broken down by those 5 components that we talked about, organic being one of them, email being one of them, paid, social, and referral. So the other one that I would really suggest that you get stuck into is Search Console, because Search Console allows you to actually see the terms that are bringing people to different pages, okay? And so what that's going to give you is a really good insight into, the first one is going to show you under acquisition, you're going to see which are your best performing pages. And then Search Console tells you what words are getting the people to those pages. So why that's important is before you go and edit anything on your site, you kind of need to understand what you've already got that is valuable, okay? So make Google Analytics your friend. Start with your acquisition screen and Search Console and landing page. They are the 2 really big ones that can give you a lot of insight. Okay, so we're up to the next step, which is you've understood what words are currently bringing traffic to your sites. And you've done initially you did your mind map over here of all the words and phrases that you thought might be of interest. But now you need to do this linking step, which is finding out which phrases are actually of value. And by that I mean which phrases actually have traffic behind them, okay? Because even though we think a certain phrase from our mind map over here might be a lot of value, what we might find when we go and do some further research about what traffic is out there is that it's actually only a small thing, okay? So how do you do this broader keyword and topic research? Well, Google has another tool, and it's called Keyword Planner, and it is part of the AdWords suite, all right? And although it's going to ask you, if you don't have an AdWords account already, you do have to set one up to get access to it, okay? And it will ask you to put a credit card in, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it will charge you anything, okay? It's just the process of setting up an account. And in that Keyword Planner tool, it will give you incredible insight into what phrases are winning traffic, how much traffic they win, and also how competitive they are. So that is a super valuable tool for understanding what phrases, how much benefit they can bring you, and how hard they are going to be to win. All right. So, but there are a couple of other little tricks you can also use. You know, when you're Googling and that list of suggested terms comes up underneath, that is gold, as is the suggested other related terms at the bottom. They are both areas of absolute gold for SEO, because they're telling you when people start typing this is actually what the rest of their phrase is. Then you could take that phrase, stick that into your keyword planner, and then you get some insight around, that's a really popular phrase, or actually that's not so popular because it doesn't have that much traffic attached to it, or that's popular and it's competitive, maybe I won't go for that first, or that's popular and there's low competition, that would be an awesome one to go for. All right. So there's also, and all of these are listed on the slides, which I'm going to make sure you get a PDF set of immediately after this meeting so you can write your own notes onto them. There is an awesome site called Answer the Public. Now, Answer the Public is incredible. You type in what you think or an area that you want questions of, and it gives you a mind map to work from. So if mind mapping is not your thing, use Answer the Public. It is a great tool for understanding what other people are asking about in a certain area of information. All right, so content planning. I'm guessing because you've had no slides, we're going to have quite a few questions. Anyway, that's all right. We'll get there. So now we're up to content planning. And I'm going to be really honest with you guys. This is real work, okay? This is not just saying on this day, I'm going to write an article about this thing, okay? Content planning, when it's done well, is about going through your words that you already get traffic for, your terms that you've worked out have traffic behind them and that match what you want to win for in your business, and then actually coming up with a list of what you're going after. Okay, and then mapping that back onto the pages on your site, and then thinking actually that fits best at the product page, or that fits best at the About Us page, or that fits best on our home page, or that fits best as an article, and then actually mapping what terms go to which page. Because what you don't want to do is discover that the awesome term, and I'm going to use the nature play as an example, that the awesome term is bushkinder. If you go and put bushkinder on every single one of your pages, you're going to work against yourself. Okay, so bushkinder, absolutely, if that's what you find your key term to be, use that on your home page and it can come up on other pages, but you need to understand what all of the other terms around bush kinder are and fill that out on your whole site. Okay. So the other tip I'll give you at this point is keep your customer in mind and keep your goal in mind. Okay. Don't get distracted from your goal, unless you want to change your goal, that's fine. But try and keep a focus on it and consciously change it if you want to. But if not, fine-tune the content that you're creating to achieving that goal and keep your customer hat on, okay? Don't suddenly start using US terms or UK terms, even though sometimes they come up on Keyword Planner as having good traction, if you know that that's just not a term that your customer uses. It won't work for you. And then you need to make that plan and work that plan. So when you're thinking about your content planning, I want to take you through some of the things that you can address. All right. So remember at the start, I said this is not all about blogs and articles. Okay. The first thing that you might like to think about if you're an online store is actually starting at your products and making sure they've all got really good descriptive titles that the customer would use. Not what we'd use, but what the customer would use. Making sure the description is unique, original, references the title, references other keywords. You might like to think about your brand pages. I've mentioned these before, but brand pages can be incredibly powerful if you sell branded product. Same with category pages, really, really strong areas for creating content and getting people into those pages and then down to the product level below. But it can be things also like looking at your whole site and making sure that on every single page, you have a meta title, a meta description, that your URL is clean, that you have your heading structure right, and you've tagged your pictures. What's important is that every page on your website has those 5 key things. So I'm going to say them again. Clean URL, meta title, meta description, clean heading structure, and image alt tags. Now, I just want to spend 2 seconds on image alt tags. If anyone has anyone under the age of 20-something in their house, I think it is fascinating how they use images as a search tool more than they use text. So I say this because if you have a product that appeals to people who in that younger demographic, having a really good image-based SEO strategy can be just as powerful as having a word-based image SEO strategy. So they're both content strategies. They're just different ways of finding the content. So one of the things you can do with image alt tags is actually be quite descriptive in them, as opposed to if you had a photo of a woman working in a cafe, cup of coffee, notebook. You could call the photo cafe. You could call the photo woman in cafe, or you could call it woman working in cafe with laptop. And then all of a sudden, if someone's searching for that, and that's not a great example because it's not an easily monetized product, but you can see how that would actually come to the top of the pile for someone who was looking for that exact item. So we really need to get this hygiene, and this is what I call hygiene. URLs, meta titles, meta descriptions, we need to get them right. Okay. The interesting thing about the meta title, so when you Google something, this is the stuff that comes up in purple at the top. It's like the summary of the page. You need to think of that like the signs on the freeway. They only put the most important information on it. And when you're doing your meta titles, that is your freeway sign to Google to say, hey, stop here. This page is all about. The example I had was actually the Darebin Business Directory. So it was City of Darebin Business Directory, Darebin Council. So it was the key terms for that area, and that was the sign for Google to drop in if they were looking for the business directory to answer that question for someone. The grey writing that appears below that is called your meta description. There is some argument over whether or not that is actually indexed by Google and whether it changes where you are ranked depending on what it says. My advice to people is use that like your invitation. So the big sign at the top, your meta title, is stop here, Google, this is what this page is about. The grey writing underneath is inviting the consumer who sees that search result on the page to come and interact with you. So using the example of an online store, it might be that you offer free shipping. It could be that you have these products in your range, or it could be in stock available now, or, whole click and collect, local pickup, local delivery, whatever it is that you offer on that particular product or page or category. You need to explain that offer there and make it enticing for people to come in. So a couple of words on URLs. URLs are the web address, okay? The www.Darebin Council, etc. Really simple idea here. If, as a human, you can read the URL and understand what that page is about, then Google can too. So avoid creating URLs that either have super generic words in them or too many nonsensical characters and code numbers in them and that kind of thing. So probably, that's the tip. If I can read the URL and understand pretty well what's going to be on that page, that's a good tip that probably Google can as well. So there you go. There's your 5 areas of hygiene. Keep your URL clean. Make sure your meta title is your big freeway sign for Google to stop and what it's about. Your meta description is your invitation to the customer to come in. Your heading structure, let's talk about that briefly. We're going to do, in all of your templates, and I'm guessing most of you are running templated sites, Squarespace or Shopify or one of those, or WordPress. There are in your the type of template that you have, there'll be different heading levels, heading 1, H1, heading 1, H2, H3. And what they are is, yes, they translate to this size font and this color, but for Google, they translate to H1 is the headline. It is the front page of the newspaper. Okay, so once again, you need to put descriptive and most important information in that H1. H2s are your subheadings, and then H3s are your paragraph headings. Now, ideally, what you want to do is create this really nice relationship where your URL and your meta title and your H1 are pretty aligned in terms of the topic. So Google goes, oh, one sign, oh, that's pointing to this, yes. Oh, and the meta title says the same thing and the H1 says the same thing. Great, that must be about this. Okay, and that's, if you're going to put in all your work into getting your content right, please don't forget these 5 hygiene points, because that is actually how Google indexes and finds the content that you've worked so hard on. So really, really important concept. And almost as important as churning out blog articles is actually making sure that our pages can be found. All right. Sixth point I want to cover is content creation and amplification. Now, I've just said that content creating is hard work, and it is. At this point, it's probably a really good time to say there's lots of places on the net that will tell you they'll write a blog article for $20, $25, $50, $100, 2 cents a word, 4 cents a word, whatever it is. I'm going to say to you, don't do it unless you're writing a really good brief for the copywriter, okay? Because when you put your customer hat on and you come to a site that has lots of articles that have just been churned out of somewhere, they don't really answer your question, and they don't really build your trust in the business, and they feel a little bit hollow. So what I'd rather see people do is create less content, but better content, okay? Now, you've done all the work on them. You've created these awesome category pages or brand pages, or you've reworked your homepage, or you've created these awesome buying guide articles, or maybe you've, put together the top 10 children's gifts for Christmas this year, or whatever it is. You've put real time and effort into it. You've done your keyword research. You've mapped it back to what you want to get out of it. You need to now amplify it because you've done so much work on it. We need to get eyeballs to see it, okay? So here's some ideas for how you can get your content out there. How am I going for time? Okay, I'll wrap it up soon. You can, first of all, promote your article through your own email marketing. Great. Send it out to people. Here's our tips on. Here's something we prepared that we think might be of interest. We've had some calls about this. Here's a piece we've written. You can offer it to other people to push out in their email marketing. Okay, so maybe you're a barbecue store and you've done a piece on best lamb cuts for the barbecue. Well, why not work in partnership then with a butcher shop, and they can push out that article too, and you link back to them from your site and they send traffic to you for your article. You could push it out through your socials. That would help to get it noticed. You might, not necessarily recommending this, but you might like to consider paid traffic for relevant terms in that article. Or you could ask other people to backlink to it. Now, the thing here is, at the beginning of this session, I said that organic traffic was 1/4 of all traffic. The other 3/4 of traffic gives signals to Google that this is actually a valuable piece of content. So pushing an article out that you've written with the intention of it winning organic traffic, it should be the article that you're proud enough of to push out through your email. So you get email eyeballs looking at it and they click around in it and they find it of value, and that sends a signal to Google that says, hey, this article is valuable and relevant. And that's when you'll start to get your organic uptick. Okay, so just winding up now. We're nearly at the end. So we've talked an awful lot about content because there is a lot to do. But there is one other thing. If you remember back to that original slide, it was a 2-part thing, wasn't it? Google wanted the answer to the question that was most relevant and trusted. So how do you build trust online? Well, it's funny, you need to make friends, okay? You need to actually work with other people and swap links. Trust online in the Google sphere is measured by the number of people who are linking to your site. So if you're writing great articles, if you're an air conditioning service company, for example, and you are writing great articles on why a certain brand is really great for this design of house or whatever, send it. to that brand and ask them that they might be interested in linking to it. They might be interested in promoting it through their social channels. We need to get other people linking back into our site and saying that this content that we've created is worthwhile. Okay? It takes time, but it is so, so worthwhile. Now, there are questions about whether socials count in that great SEO algorithm. There isn't a definitive answer. My gut feeling is they do, but I'm not from Google. But I think it can always help that the more people see and interact with your article is helpful to your brand at the very least. So yeah, the key thing to building trust online is to making friends and getting people to backlink to your article. There's also other signals you can do. Make sure that your phone number, your contact us is all easily found, that your Google My Business listing, where background to that again is up to date, that your site is well constructed, that you're updating it regularly, that you're participating in that online community. Okay, so I've got 3 slides left, and you will see them too one day, I promise. One is, should I employ an agency? And then we've got the key takeaways. So here we go. Should you employ an agency? There is no definitive answer, okay? Budget will definitely be a consideration, because to get a good agency, you are looking at $1,000 to $1,500 a month minimum. Okay. But you are also need to be thinking about internally, do you have the resources to do this yourself? So there is a couple of ways. It's not a black and white answer, by the way. I would encourage all of you, even if you're thinking about getting an agency, to spend some time in your Google Analytics account, getting to know your own traffic, thinking about your business through customers' eyes, so that if you go and have that conversation with an agency, you actually have something to measure their recommendations against. Okay? You know what your traffic is. You know what the terms are that are important to you, and you know which ones have real traffic behind them, because that can be very valuable. Less so now, but there have been unscrupulous agencies out there who have, spruiked that they've got you into the top, into first place ranking for a term that actually will never get you any traffic or drive any conversions. So having that knowledge and doing that work will actually get you a better outcome from your agency. And if you choose not to go with an agency, then taking this approach of getting to know your business, getting into your analytics, knowing what your current traffic is, thinking like your customer, thinking about what your goal is and what terms are important to your customer will absolutely give you a blueprint for creating your own SEO strategy. So let's wrap up. Key takeaways from tonight is, I want you all to remember, think like your customer. That's absolutely key. What questions are your customers asking? What do they want the answers to? Do your research. Once again, Google Analytics, Search Console within Google Analytics, Keyword Planner, use a tool like Answer the Public, and get Googling. Look at what your competitors post about. Look at what the related terms are that come up. Get informed. Set up those good hygiene habits around your URL, meta title, meta description, and your heading structure. And then plan your work and work the plan. Plus make some friends out there in the online world. It's absolutely doable. It's just getting into it, and it gets easier as you go. So thank you all so much for sticking with me, particularly when the slides weren't working. I really, really appreciate A, you coming along tonight, and B, being so engaged.